is up, everybody? It's Nikko from the EHG community. Sorry, I just woke up recently. It's Nikko from the EHG community coming back to you with another episode of the EHG podcast. And we're going to be talking about another subject today from gaming, and it's a very, very important subject that a lot of people actually have an issue with. And here's one thing that, it kind of is like I'm on the midst of being on the border of, like borderline, against it and with it. So let me go ahead and put this as an idea. We all know about microtransactions in games and major issues of microtransactions in different areas of gaming. So for instance, if you don't know what a microtransaction is, a lot of people consider a microtransaction to be a cheating way to get past a game, or to be able to level up a character in a MMORPG, or especially things like gacha games where you have to spend a lot of money to get a certain area. It is very important that that certain games take some lessons out of these about microtransactions, because microtransactions is a major thing about gaming that a lot of people hate. But on the other hand, microtransactions is needed in gaming, which is 100% a need. And a lot of people will never agree with that because of the fact that, they're gamers. They're going to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and want to spend as less money as possible. Or some of the games that I'm getting are not worth the money to be able to do so. And that's perfectly fine. A major issue with microtransactions, and a major example, was games like, I would say, major games like Star Wars Battlefront 2, where the grind was terrible. Even unlocking the story mode for certain things was terrible. Even doing things to a point where it was like, oh, you know what? We have all these characters like Luke, or we have Han Solo, and it was like a major grind. And instead of doing the major grind, you could buy them, but to buy these characters would be up to $40 to $60, and that's already the price of a game, which is a problem. So that's something that's a major issue. Now, when that happened, they say that microtransactions is somewhat of a gambling aspect, which is true, which is absolutely true. And I don't know if you hear it, but I'm playing the Switch in the background. It is absolutely true. It's somewhat of a gambling aspect. Sometimes you put money in and then you win something specifically, sometimes not what you want. So it is sort of a gamble, but people try to go ahead and compare it to things like a pachinko machine, or not a pachinko machine, one of those quarter machines, when you go ahead and put the quarter in and then you get a special capsule that has certain toys, or you get something specific out of the toy. And it kind of makes sense in that area, but in certain countries and other places they consider it a big issue, because they say that it's predatory, which I highly disagree with, and I'll explain why in a minute. But let me explain why microtransactions is a major need in gaming. So it's a major need, especially in areas like mobile games, because if you go ahead and play a mobile game, people are not going to pay $60 for a game on the phone. And for a mobile company, or for a company that does mobile gaming, things like that is very, very important to keep a company afloat. So for instance, I play games like Tekken, or I play games like AFK, or Raid Shadow Legends, stuff like that, and with that, it's very, very important for people to put in a certain amount of money, or something of a certain amount, because of the fact that you get things in regards to, how do I say this? You get things in regards to, like, supporting the company or the gaming company that made it a little bit more. Now, that's a reason why microtransactions is good. Another reason why it's good is because it gives a big company that, like, that wants to make a game more money to make a game. A lot of people say that, oh, these companies have, enough money to make another game, but yeah, here's what it is. Sometimes putting in money towards that game is bigger, or it's more than what they have earned. Sometimes the game doesn't make too much compared to how much money they put into making it. And a lot of people get very upset about that today because of the fact that, a lot of things like, putting in a lot of money into games like Cyberpunk, and it came out terribly like that. But, really it's a major issue that, even with putting in money from, like, that area, or a company earning money, that also leads to game development, like, a lot better. But with that, we get, the microtransactions and the big companies. And now I want to talk about, like, things like in regards to other companies saying that it's predatory. So why people think it's predatory is because certain microtransactions, especially in games like Fortnite, have a target audience. Like, apparently they say that it's predatory towards children, like, or that it's predatory towards people to make them want to spend money. Well, yeah, that makes sense. It's sort of a business aspect of trying to get people to want to buy a product. You know how, like, certain things, like, if you have a specific candy bar and it's just a regular candy bar, let's say you made it with milk chocolate, you made it with let's say caramel, marshmallow, and then you have yourself, like, let's say peanut butter or peanuts in the same thing, and then it's the same candy bar left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right. Then you were like, you know what, we gotta come up with a really good idea. Why don't we go ahead and market a brand new idea where now they are in a giant cake, or like, and they make like a cake and it's dedicated for, like, Baskin Robbins, or like now it's dedicated for children's birthday parties or somebody's birthday party, and they're trying to go ahead and push something like that. That's another idea of what microtransaction does, especially for gaming. Like, for instance, Fortnite especially is getting a lot of ideas where they're pushing things like now Rick Grimes. They're pushing things like Carnage from Marvel. They're pushing things like Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe, and John Wick. And with that, it gets to a major point where it's very, very, very important to do that, to be able to push a product, because having the same product left and right is never gonna work. Even it's like saying, oh, hey, we got a brand new system, it's the GameCube, and then you go ahead and go to GameCube HD, and they're still in the same little small discs. But now, they're in the cartridges, and they're working in the cartridges. It's very, very, very difficult to be able to do that. It's very, very difficult. And if people stay with the same idea, sometimes it will never go ahead and bring in product. So that's what microtransactions does. It provides brand new ideas and brand new product towards the same game that they have, to also keep a game alive. Like GTA, especially with buying certain vehicles or certain guns in GTA. Like battle passes, like for Ninjala, Fortnite, Apex, especially for battle royales, battle passes are majorly important. Now, let's go back to the idea that they're majorly predatory. A lot of people say that microtransactions are actually the reason of children gambling issues in certain areas. which is an absolute scapegoat, and it is a lie. And I say this because of the fact that, when people try to tell me that the UN or the EU or Europe has established this to be predatory, well, they don't know what they're talking about. Because let me tell you on this idea, when it comes to things like that in EU or like especially with Europe, a lot of countries in Europe have issues with gambling because of the fact of virtual casinos or actual casinos. Especially in the Philippines, outside of Europe, has issues with that. And people don't look into that, and they're using the gaming as a scapegoat. Just because like an 8-year-old kid went ahead and decided to spend I would say like $1,500, almost $3,000 on V-Bucks for Fortnite. And it was a cool thing that Epic Games went ahead and reimbursed them the money. But now because of that, they blame the microtransactions with luring the kid to buying that, instead of blaming the kid for actually buying that without permission, and also blaming the parents that didn't even give supervision. It goes to a major extent on why people will go ahead and use that as a scapegoat. I think people use it as a major scapegoat. I think people don't learn from it, and I think people tend to go ahead and use it as a scapegoat because of the fact that a lot of parents don't want to take responsibility. Nowadays, I think parents are trying to be more like friends instead of actual parents. My opinion is that your parents is not there to be your friend. Never. I don't think they're there to be your friend. I think they're more there to be your parent, to guide you to be ready for the actual real world. But I don't know why people don't really think about that. And with that, it just leads to major scapegoats. With that, it leads to negativity about microtransactions, and also leads to the idea that maybe microtransactions are very useful for certain companies that don't make too much money. So with that, there are also things like DLCs that would tend to be considered microtransactions, extensions of games or expansions. People get upset about DLCs because it's a part of microtransactions. Sometimes people are like, oh, why don't you just give the whole game? Because some of the DLCs that are sold are not part of the whole game. You can actually play the games without it. Like for instance, Persona 5. Persona 5 came out with a regular game with it. And then they had Persona 5 Royale. And Persona 5 Royale is an actual change of the real game because of the fact that some of the dungeons are changed. Some of the things like the sort of the stories, certain abilities, certain aspects of the game have been changed as well. And people really don't see that. I don't understand why that's such a difficult aspect to understand. And it was a major issue with things like Final Fantasy 15, where they see expansions of different stories and different people, like Gladiolus. You got all the other people, Ignis, I believe that's what his name, Ignis, and I don't know, the other guy, the blonde-headed one. And people were like, oh, you know what? Why can't we just have the whole game? They're part of the story. Because think about it, Final Fantasy was mostly literally about main characters like Titus, Cloud, Squall, Bartz, and things like Noctis, Lightning. And it goes to a major extent of why they're adding this, because you don't really need to know about the other characters. There's no reason to need to know about the other characters, because guess what, their story mostly is about how they actually go to or become a ally for the main character story. Like for instance, there's Final Fantasy X. There are characters like Auron, Wakka, Kimari, Yuna, Riku. There's Lulu, and then there's I believe there's one more. I could be wrong. There's Yuna, but we all know that it's all about the main guy, Titus. It's just how he reacts or interacts with those other characters. So really, that's just another thing about DLC, about the microtransactions for DLC, that some people think that, you know, it locks away the full game. It doesn't. Sometimes you get the full game, and sometimes they give you a little bit extra with it. The only time when it really did lock in the full game was Battlefront 2. Once again, they locked in a lot of the story. You have to go ahead and do certain things on multiplayer, or you have to pay for a certain thing for the story. And it got to a point where EA lost almost a couple billion out of that. But in true honesty, for EA, that's not really that much money. But let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. I want to know how you guys feel about microtransactions, what you feel about this opinion. As I said, it's just an opinion. Don't take it seriously. It's just my opinion on the microtransaction situation. But definitely subscribe to the EHG community. Definitely turn your notifications when we get new streams and new videos set out. Definitely join us on our Facebook group, our Discord channel. Make sure to go ahead and check out our merchandise. Make sure to go ahead and follow the Liking Horn on Twitter, and make sure to follow us on Glimish. But this is Nikko from the EHG community. Stay tuned for another episode of the EHG podcast. And remember that there's always something amazing on the horizon.